Hello, 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 hello. Good evening. Welcome again to another another great episode of the Leadership Advantage Live. Another great episode of the Leadership Advantage Live. Um, Thank you so much for joining. If it's your first time joining, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel, like and share for as many people as possible. Please subscribe to the channel, like and share. All right. So this promises to be an interesting conversation. I do this every Friday or every other Friday. I do this every Friday or every other Friday to to just have conversations that help us experience growth and transformation within our life, our businesses, and our career. So that's every Friday we'll do this. So if you are part of this or you are watching this month later, please tune in on Fridays. Subscribe to my channel to get notifications when we go live. Subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get notifications when we go live. All right. So today's conversation, I'm going to be speaking about I'm going to be speaking about time management, how to manage time, how to manage our time in chaotic environment or when life seems chaotic. How to manage our time when life seems chaotic. Okay, so when life seems chaotic. How to manage time when life seems chaotic. So essentially we are discussing time management, the principles of time management. Okay, so let me get into it very quickly. The premise of discussing time management in itself, the overall premise of discussing time management is the very nature of how we live our lives and the kind of expectations we have of how how we achieve results, how we walk through life, how we navigate all of the resources and the all of the life resources that are available to us, and how we convert that into the life of our dreams or the experience of our dreams. So it's very important to identify, to understand we don't manage time. Essentially, we manage our whole life. That it is in managing our lives that we essentially are able to manage time within our lives. We manage our activities because essentially time cannot be managed. In time in itself cannot be managed. All right. So rather than focusing on efficiency in terms of doing things fast or doing things quicker, all right. So what I want to teach is about doing things the right or doing the right things. All right. As against just doing things quicker, doing things faster. All right. Let's My thing is let's do the right things. Or let's do the right things at the right time within the right context. All right. Let's organize our life, organize our resources, organize our energy in within the kind of sequences that allows us to be effective and allows us to be efficient. Okay. All right. So the overall flow of how time has been managed, for centuries, how people, the evolution of time management and the kind of the overall conversation and the overall flow of time management, its evolution and all that. All right. So it began, of course, all of these things began from like notes and checklists where people make checklists and write notes about about sort of like what they want to do and what they want to get and things like that. I want to go to the market and stop by the office and do this and do that. That's how these things evolved. Then it got into calendars and appointment bookings where people started ticking off calendar and blocking out times. And then people have to book an appointment ahead. That's the evolution. People have to book appointment ahead. That's how people sort of like began to be able to manage themselves. All right. Another thing is to be able to people started setting goals based on their values. Uh, because these things are important to me, or because that thing is important to me. People started setting goals based on the values that they have. People started setting goals based on the values that they have. Okay, so because of work, because of the kind of work I'm doing, because of these kind of things, I'm going to set my values according to those things. All right, set my goals based on the values that I have. All right, so the next level is enhancing relationships. You manage your time. People start managing their time through enhancing relationship and results rather than just managing time. Optimizing their life to get the best results, to get the best, to get the best value out of their time. All right. Now, but the critical thing about effectiveness that it lies in between the balance between production and production capacity. All right. And Dr. Covey, to me, Dr. Covey is one of the greatest mind when it comes to personal effectiveness. I listened to him, I watched the whole videos, I read his book. Dr. Covey is a phenomenal mind when it comes to personal effectiveness and personal efficiency. All right. So according to him, the highest level of efficiency lies in the balance between production, a person's ability to deliver results, and the person's capability to deliver that result. Sorry, a person's production means a person's what a person produces, the total value of a person's life, production versus production capacity. That's what you desire, your goals, what you're trying to achieve, the result you're trying to get. That's the balance of the effectiveness balance is between your result, your goal, your aspiration, and the capacity or the instruments or the machineries that you have in your life to deliver that result. So you must be able to find that balance between the result you are trying to achieve and the capacity and the ability for you to achieve that result. So these are very, very, very critical things, right? So this was how, or that's the evolution. The evolution of time management began from people started setting calendars, notes and checklists to calendars and being able to book appointments, right? To blocking out, scheduling and things like that. So they are all techniques with time management. But my own emphasis and what I'm trying to emphasize tonight in this conversation is, first of all, to understand that you cannot necessarily manage time in itself. What you can, because the principle of management requires that if you organize and prioritize something correctly, that it can multiply, it can be preserved, or if you don't do that, it can waste. The premise of management is that if you manage things correctly by organizing and prioritizing, by taking stock, all right, by organizing it properly and doing all that, that if you do it correctly, what will happen is that resource can either multiply, it can either multiply, it can be preserved, it can be saved. That's the backbone at the base of management. That's one of the management thinking. Management thinking requires that resource, when managed correctly and when managed appropriately, by organizing it and prioritizing it correctly, right? That resource is able to be saved, is able to multiply, or is able to be preserved. Of which lack of doing so can lead to it being wasted. All right. So by that thinking, no matter what you do with time, you cannot save time, you cannot multiply time, and you cannot preserve time. No matter what you do, you cannot save time, you cannot multiply time, and you cannot preserve time. So essentially, at the principal level, you cannot manage time. Now, you can manage your activities, you can manage your energy, and you can manage your life overall. You can manage your activities, you can manage your energy, and you can manage your life overall. It is in doing these three things that you essentially manage time. All right. Now, another thing is you can then, because it's a static resource, 24 hours every day, non-changing, 24 hours every day, 7 days every week, 30 to 21 days every month. 12 months every year is not changing. It's forever. It's static. And that's a fact. That's a truth. And that's a critical principle that does not change. So no matter what you do, you cannot save time, you cannot preserve time, you cannot multiply time, and you essentially cannot really waste time. What you end up wasting is your life. So there's a strong parallel that helps us see that time is life. If that's a very strong parallel that shows us essentially that time is life. When it comes down to it, when we get down to, all right, what the critical junction of this understanding is to be able to establish that time is life. So if you were in managing your life appropriately, all right, in organizing your life properly, whilst you will not be able to save time, what you will be able to do, is you will be able to convert it. So time conversion is another thing. You don't manage time. You are able to convert time, right? You are able to look at that. So you're able to say to yourself, you know what? Since we cannot manage time, then we can convert it. All right. You cannot manage time, you can only convert it. So it's very important to understand the difference in that. Okay, so we cannot manage time, we can convert it. You can take time and turn it into something valuable for you by converting it into wealth, into resource, into a skill, because it's a critical investment that was given to humanity by God. Time is a critical deposit in a person's life. Time in itself is a critical deposit in a person's life, and it is a divine deposit. It's a divine deposit in itself. It's a divine deposit. Time, it's a divine deposit. All right. We don't manage time, we manage our lives. All right. So these are very important things to identify quickly as we continue to go forward. All right. So what are the basic understanding that one needs to have when we are discussing how to manage your life? Because it gets back to how to manage your life. Now, when you begin to manage your life, then you begin to manage activities. So we discuss first how to manage your how to life management. What are the things that are critical to life management? What is critical to life management is to understand the principles of personal mastery, to understand the principles of personal efficiency and personal effectiveness. At once you're able to understand the principles of personal effectiveness and personal efficiency, what happens will always be that you will live within a kind of sequence that allows you to stay top of mind, to stay ahead of the game, ahead of the curve, and you are always doing what you are supposed to do within the context of the timing of that thing. Okay, so what are the basic laws of personal mastery? Personal management begins, or life management begins, with understanding yourself. So JT, why are we discussing understanding yourself when we're supposed to be discussing time management? Because no matter all the tools and checklist and to-do list, in that to-do list is you are the one that will do it. The to-do list will not do anything on itself. You cannot To-do list will not do it. Just because you have a to-do list doesn't mean you will do it. So when it comes down to it, the most critical part of time management is life management. Do you have the discipline to stick to your routines? First of all, do you have a design for your routines? Or are you just living anyhow, anywhere, belle face, like they say? Do you have a discipline to stick to your routine? Do you have a design for your routine in the first place? Do you have a well-designed routine? Do you have a structure to your life that allows you to engage life from a design flow, or a design state? Or did you wake up in the morning and wherever the wind blows, you are a man of the spirit wherever the wind blows. All right. So it's important that you understand that time management begins from life management, and life management begins from understanding yourself, self-awareness. And I always say that self-awareness has at three levels. Self-awareness is knowledge, you know, critical knowledge of yourself, your strength, your patterns, your values, stuff like that. First layer knowledge is knowledge of self. The second level knowledge is knowledge of the environment that you're in. Knowledge of the environment that you're in is a very critical knowledge. Knowledge of the environment that you are playing in. The third level knowledge is the power of agency, the knowledge of your responsibility, the awareness that nothing will change in your life if you don't make it change. The awareness that while God will always be in control, that you have to always be in charge. That awareness completes the three levels of self-awareness. First is the awareness of yourself, your where you were born, how you were born, the context of your family life, what is in your genetics, what are your natural uh, proclivities, what are your natural tendencies based on the environment you were born, the family you were born into, and the context of your environment that you grew up in, and how that formed the basic knowledge of how you experience life and how you experience people. Okay, so it's important to have that at the back of your mind. That's the first layer of self-awareness. That first level of self-awareness is about knowledge of self. The second level of self-awareness is about knowledge of the world that you are in, knowledge of the country you are in, knowledge of the state you are in, knowledge of the locale, of your family, of your friends. That knowledge helps you operate critically without assumption, so that you are not expecting Nigeria to treat you like you are in America. You're not expecting Lagos to react like Abuja, and neither are you expecting Abuja to react, to behave, to respond to you like Port Harcourt. There are businesses within Port Harcourt that thrive. There are businesses within Lagos that thrive. There are opportunities that can only work in Lagos within the same country, and there are opportunities that can only work in Abuja. There are opportunities that can only work in Ijebu. Some opportunities can only work in Jalingo. All right, we have to have critical knowledge, logic of the context of your environment, so that you're not playing a loser's game with the right intention. Good intention has never been a factor of production. It has even never been a factor of safety. You can act in good intention and be harmed terribly by people who do not care. So you have to be aware about the world. You have to have situational awareness around you. You have to be aware about industries. You have to be aware about the globalization principle and how it plays into what you are doing. Now, you can say to yourself, that's what do I need that for? Now, you can be true to yourself in that sense that you don't need it, but you are not free from the impact of it. You're not free from the impact of globalization. Neither are you free from the impact of the fact that there's a war in Iran. You're not free from the impact. It gets to you. All right. All right. So knowledge of self, knowledge of the world you're in, and knowledge, the awareness of responsibility. That if it will change on this earth, you have to make it change. And that's the power of agency. Responsibility and agency is a type of awareness that allows you to understand the true power you have on the earth to execute your rights on the earth and to demand your space. And that no matter what happens in this life, that it is always about how you respond. Now, there is always power in the experience that exerts itself on you. That's true. But there's more power in your perspective and how you respond to events. That's the type of awareness that unlocks capacity for you to manage your life. So that you don't fall, you don't engage victimism and victimhood as a response to all of life's reaction to you. Because life will throw curveballs at you. Life will throw curveballs at you. All right. So you don't want to engage life without a clear sense of knowledge of yourself, so that you understand your triggers, you understand your patterns. Some of you need to understand: are you a night person? Are you a morning person? All right. Can you take work home? Can you take work home from work home? All right, and wake up in the middle of the night and crush it, or are you 9 to 5 is my time? I do it and I get it on. You have lived 25 years on this earth. You have lived 30 years on this earth. You must be able to have clear understanding of your patterns. You must have some understanding of your patterns. You've lived a few years on the earth. Your triggers, right? What unlocks your production? What unlocks your distraction? You must be able to maintain knowledge of the world you're in and the awareness of agency and responsibility, knowing that if you give your life away to people, they will use you, and that you have to stay in control at some level. That God is in control, but you are always in charge. God is in control, that you are always in charge, and that you must execute at a level with God. You must execute in partnership with God at some level to be able to live a life that is efficient and that is effective, and that you cannot just do things for doing sake. You cannot wake up in the morning and expect life to just happen to you at the highest level of possibility. No, it doesn't work that way. So these are very critical knowledge, and that's where personal mastery begins from. That level of mastery allows you to stay in control, and you need that level of control to manage your time, or at least to live effectively and live efficiently, such that you are managing your life, you're managing your activities, and you're managing your energy. So when it comes down to it, time management is being able to manage your life, manage your activities, and manage your energy. All right. So another very important factor of personal mastery and sort of like personal leadership that allows you to stay in control is understanding the vision. Understanding vision. And I always say that vision is about two things. Vision is about, it's not about four things, but it's about two things. It's about your the total sum of the roles in life that you play, and it's about identity and possibilities. So vision is about identity and possibility. No, it is not the mental picture of the future that you capture. No. Yes, you will capture a mental picture, but you will do so from two possibilities. You will do so from a clear sense of your identity, and that's from that clear sense of identity, a picture of possibilities then comes out of that clear sense of identity. All right. So it's never so vision is about a clear sense of identity and a clear sense of possibility. All right. So an identity is then the total sum of the roles that you play and the total sum of your personal values. Your core values and your core roles are the total sum of your identity. You are who, when you are done, all of your life is the total sum of your roles and your values. When all of your life, total sum of your rules and your values, and that's your identity. That is who you are when it comes down to it. So do you understand all of these things? Do you know? Man, I would like to emphasize on roles because I'm trying to narrow down on time management. All right. Have you ever done a role audit of your life? Have you ever sat down and made a list of all of the roles that you play in this life? And how did you become that person? All right. Apart from the basic ones, like if you're a male or female, you are a man, you're somebody's brother, you're somebody's husband, you're somebody's father. If you have kids and you're married, you're somebody's friend, have you ever sat down and picked a pen and wrote down all of the roles that you're playing? How come you are so busy but you're not getting anything done? How come you are so busy but you're not getting anything done? How come when at the end of the month when you're looking back, you can't look back at anything tangible? All right. Identify all of the roles that you play. You must be able to audit all of the roles that you play. That's the first level of personal mastery. Can you audit the total roles, all of the roles that you play in life? Can you audit them? Can you make a list of the roles that you play? Like, okay, I'm a man. Okay, I am a father. I'm somebody's son. I'm somebody's brother. I am somebody's husband. I am an engineer. I'm a pastor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. That's a role. And I'm a volunteer in church. I'm a friend. All right. Can you then group those roles into what you call core roles, which are like permanent roles, and then the non-core roles, which are like core roles, which are a bit more permanent roles, right? Transitional roles, which are roles, for instance, if you're a student or you are taking a course, it's a transitional role. It's a role that you have to perform in the meantime because and then you exit it. All right. A lot of times, most students treat their student life like it's a permanent thing, like they will never graduate from school. They make commitments and make decisions that reflect that they are incapable of actually making correct decisions. They are incapable of understanding the weight, that they have no understanding of the weight of the decision they are making, because you are in a temporary role, you are in a transitional role, and you are making permanent decisions. All right. So personal mastery requires that you audit all of the roles that you play in life. Who are you when it comes down to it? You are all of the roles that you play. So how come you are playing roles that you never designed, you never identified, you never understood the demands of those roles? For instance, your role as a man, or your role as a son, your role as a father. All right, these are critical roles that requires time for you to navigate them, for you to mature in them, and for you to dispense the responsibilities attributed to such a role. So you don't embrace roles carelessly. And the most the there it is those non-core roles that that you latch on without any definition, without any clarity. All right, somebody calls you to come and come and become a volunteer for something, and your life is so out of order that you do not analyze if you can take that role. Somebody is requesting for your help that will require you to devote time to them, and you did not discern clearly to understand. Okay, I won't have time for this, or I can only provide you with X time a week to do this. These are only a person who has audited their life and their roles can make critical decisions to manage the activities within those roles and make them become efficient and make them become effective. So that's very critical. It's a very critical understanding to have about role audit and role management. All right. Make a list. Part of the activity you can do is to make a list of all of the current roles that you play in your life. Is to make a list of all of the current roles that you play in your life, and to begin to look through that roles, which of these roles eat up the most of your time, and in eating up that much of your time, which of the roles supply you with the highest level of value. So those two things will help you understand what you need to begin to cut loose and what you need to begin to audit and get yourself out of. All right. If where you spend your highest time does not provide or produce the highest value for you, then something is wrong with your role with how you understand your life and how you are managing it. If where you spend your highest time does not produce the highest value for you, let's say you spend your highest time playing football, but then when you want to eat, so when you want to take care of your life, you then go and beg money from somebody. Then something's wrong with how you are prioritizing your life, right? So audit all of your roles to find where you are spending your highest time has to be providing for you your highest value and your highest contribution that allows you be effective and efficient. Now, you can be in the transitional phase where you are spending your time, the value you are getting is not commensurate with the time you are investing. But you must have the understanding that, okay, so this might be a temporal thing. And I am working extra hard to make sure that when I finally transit, I get into an area or I get to an avenue where the time that I am not dispensing within that role is providing me enough value and enough contribution into my life that I am able to remain effective and stay efficient. So that's the important knowledge to have when it comes to role management and auditing your roles. Remember that you are the total sum of the roles that you play, nothing more, nothing less. If anybody wants to ask you about your identity, the question of identity crisis is a crisis of roles and the lack of understanding of all the layers of roles that build up all of our lives. Right? You cannot manage your life properly without managing your roles correctly. Are you spending more time here than there? Are you spending more time there than there? You need to begin to understand, okay, what is eating your most time? It's a very critical question to ask yourself. So once you gain personal mastery, and that's just the basics of personal mastery. All right. I have a personal leadership course that I believe will help you develop critical leadership from your personal life, to understanding how to manage, so all these things, right? So it's an amazing course, you know, that happens twice a year, and you can put a comment in the session. You write a comment, and it can provide you more information about it. All right. So that's a very important understanding to have about life management, because time management is about three things. Time management is about life management, it's about activity management, and it's about energy management. All right. It's about life management, activity management, energy management. If you manage these three things together, what happens is that you are able to then convert time to a resource that you truly need. Time is a natural resource that you have. And if you deploy it in any direction, you will gain you will convert that time into it, that whatever you are deploying time in this direction. Whatever you deploy time wisely in the direction, you will get the commensurate result of that thing. You get the commensurate value of that thing. Right? So that's a very important thing. It's life management. All right. And you manage your life by understanding yourself, by understanding your vision, which is about understanding your identity and your roles and your values. And then we now start talking about sort of like pictures and then possibilities of what you see across all of those roles. Right. So it's a critical conversation around time life management. All right. So when we now talk about activity management, which is where most people want to spend a lot of their time. That's where most people want to. That's what most people. That when people hear about time management, they're actually talking about activity management. And without life management and understanding yourself and understanding and navigating properly all of all of what it takes, right, to manage your life correctly, you will struggle to manage activities. You will struggle a lot to manage activities. Oh, you will struggle to manage activities. Or you will struggle to manage activities. All right. So invest some time in self-awareness, knowledge of yourself, invest some time in life management so that you gain some control of personal discipline, you gain some understanding of, well, you are in control of your time, you are in control of your life. So you have to design, you have to live by a design. You must have a design of your life. You must have understanding of your life's blueprint. And that blueprint must contain a clear vision of your future and a clear understanding of all the roles that you're playing. So that if a new role comes, you know, do I have time for this or don't I have time for this? So you don't get muddled up and you are unable to, you just barely make it through the day. You just barely make it through the day every day. No, you cannot be living your life that way. You cannot be living your life that way. You cannot barely be making it through the day. You cannot barely be making it through the day. You know, you would not be able to live your life up. You cannot be living your life that way. Right? So that's very important. Right. So then that's I just wanted to talk briefly about life management. So let's get into activity management. Right? Which is what most people are more concerned about when they are discussing time management, activity management. All right. So what are the few frameworks that allows you to manage your life correctly? What are the few frameworks? So let me just pull this up. To me, again, like I said at the beginning, one of the most interesting activity management framework that I believe works and saves you a lot of stress is the Dr. Covey's four quadrants, the four quadrants of time management. So I want you to think of the four quadrants as a box, and divide that box into four. Now, each quadrant is it's a relations between what is urgent versus what is important. So quadrant one in the four quadrants is a quadrant of what is urgent and what is important. And a lot of times, most people live their life in urgency and importance. It has become things are always urgent and they're always critical. I always tell people, how did you how did how did you miss all the deadlines to the point where when it's you are always at the edge to deliver every time because you are always living your life when it is urgent and when it is important. It's always urgent and important. And things that are urgent and important are always it means your life is always in crisis mode and you're always in deadline mode. You're always in the do first mode. It has come to a point where it has become too critical and you have to just do them. Like you forget your wife's birthday. All right, that's a crisis mode. You are now panicking to your son's birthday or a scheduled appointment for 4 p.m. and you forgot it. Or by the time you forget it and you are remembering by 4:15, it has become urgent. It has become important. Then you start driving so fast and at some point people begin to get into accidents because they're trying to meet up with something because they did not because they are always in urgency and important mode. Things in their lives are always urgent and they're always important because they are managing their activities very terribly. All right. And when you live a quadrant one lifestyle, you will barely be able to manage people. You will barely be able to manage organizations. You will barely be able to live effective lives because quadrant one lifestyle means that you are always at a deadline and you're always in a crisis. It means you're always in a deadline and you're always in a crisis. That's the problem with quadrant one lifestyle. Quadrant two lifestyle is what Dr. Covey says should be the most ideal lifestyle of managing activities. The quadrant two management, how you manage your activity should be from the quadrant two standpoint, which is things that are important that are not urgent. All right, things that are important that are not urgent. You should focus your life on things that are important and are not yet urgent, or might not even get urgent. And what are the important things? And this is why life management is important. This is why having a vision, important things, understand your values helps you understand what is important. All right. Understanding your values, understanding your goals makes you know what is important first. All right. So what are the um quadrant two is things that are not urgent but are very important. All right. Things like planning your life, like having a plan, like sitting down to plan, like counting the cost of the activities of your day, understanding the KPIs that you are supposed to deliver on, understanding the endpoint of what is required, doing personal audit if you have the production capabilities of what you are about to do. Does that make sense? All right. So what we are discussing is okay. These things are not urgent. They are not creating a crisis mode. So you can always schedule them well. You can do them when you can ease yourself into it and doing them. You can ease yourself into it and do them. All right. Like planning, like resting, like leisure, like scheduling, like walking through your day, like auditing your life. All these things are quote unquote things, and this is the things that people do not do the most. These are the things that people always refuse to do until things get critical. Until relationship, you don't schedule time with your spouse, you don't schedule time to have conversation, you don't pay, you don't because they are not yet urgent. But they are important, like spending time with family is important, but it's not if when it begins to get urgent, then it's a problem. So because it's important, you schedule them. All quadrant two things you have to schedule correctly, and you focus your energy to live a quadrant two life. You want to make sure you are in that quadrant two space all the time, where you are all of your activities are important, but they are never urgent. You are never living a type of urgency that allows you to surrender your best self and your best effort to a haste and a lot of hurrying. Right, so that's quadrant two, where you are staying inside that quadrant two space and saying to yourself, you know what, I'm going to stay on this space. I'm going to build the base. I'm going to plan. I'm going to identify the things that are important in my life. I'm going to focus energy to manage my life correctly. That's the quadrant two lifestyle. I'm going to manage my life correctly. I'm going to understand my values. I'm going to understand my roles. I'm going to audit my roles. That's the quadrant two lifestyle. If you do that, what happens will always be that you are able to identify all of what is valuable, all of what is important to you. You are able to identify the relationships that are critical. You are able to understand what are the big rocks of your life. All right, what are the immovable blocks of your life? What are the big rocks? Or like because you plan other activities around critical activities, not the other way around, or not just carelessly. What are the big rocks of your life? All right, what are the pillars of your life? Your family, your career, your relationships. What are the big rocks? Some friendships, church. What are the big rocks of your life? Identify them. Identifying that is about those roles, the role management. Once you understand those role management, you bring them into this space. Okay, so these are the core. These are the big rocks of my life that are unmovable. Every other thing flows inside of this, not outside of it. This doesn't move. This doesn't shake. These are the things that don't move and don't shake. My family don't move. Time with my family don't move. Time with my spouse don't move. Okay, because it's important to me. Time at work, time for my job, for my career don't move. I have to be at work 9 to 5. I have deadlines to meet up to. I have things I need to do. Those things don't move. Okay. So by the time you identify the big rocks of your life, then you begin to schedule other smaller activities around that. All right. Every other activity then follows suit from the clear understanding. So that's the quadrant two lifestyle. It's about understanding things that are not urgent but are very important. Now, activities that are very urgent, that are urgent and not important, are always very, very useless activities for the most part. They are always very they are always interruptive in nature. Like when your phone rings, not all focus. Your phone rings with a lot of urgency all the time. You can be in the bathroom taking your bath and your phone rings and you get a sense of urgency to leave with louder in your eyes to come and pick your phone because the phone unlocks a sense of urgency that you are going to miss the call. That's why it's called missed calls. Like you are going to miss something. So you get that fear of missing out on something and you are always on your phone. Now, that's a lot of times those things seems urgent, but they're not important. All right. So in those type of, a lot of times those type of activities, if you can afford it, you delegate them. They are urgent but are not important. All right. Those kind of activities, you delegate them. You look for somebody else to do them because they're not critical. They might be urgent because they might require, let's say, to care for certain things in the office. All right. If you can afford it, you delegate. These are activities you sort of like you are as quickly as possible looking for people to delegate it to. All right. And you want to get yourself out of those kind of activities as quickly as possible, whether your business or your career or your personal life. You want to get yourself out of activities that seem so urgent but are not important, like gossip. Like somebody gives you a call now, do you know what happened to this person? Do you know people can abandon, they can abandon what they are doing that is important to sit down and listen to a gist that is not important. People can abandon what they are doing to listen to a 45-minute video or VDM telling them about a story that has no bearing to their life and no bearing to, but because it's live, or they are just, it's just something they feel like, "Ah, I can miss out of this." So they have that fear and it unlocks that urgency and they sit down without considering whether it's important or not important. So these are interruptive activities that interrupts your day, interrupts your critical activities, and you have to you have to either delete them or look for someone else to do them for you. If there are things that you like. So a lot of times, let's say doing home management, if you can pay someone to go on errand for you to get things, you can pay them if you have more important things to do, right? So it's about degree of importance and all that. So the fourth quadrant are not urgent and not important things. These are just time wasting things, and our lives are always filled with time wasting things. Like when we press our phones, when we monitor other people's life, when we consume other people's content that has no bearing or importance to your growth or your development. You watch random videos of cats cooking food in for a community of 10,000 people. That has no bearing, has no education, has no value. All right, but it's not important and it's not urgent. It's always leisure based, not unscheduled leisure based, just non-critical activities that will just occupy our day, occupy our life, occupy everything that we are doing, and we just wake up at the end of 2 hours seeing that we have been scrolling through the phone, just endless, mindless scrolling. I believe that the person who invented the update of that scrolling, that's endless scrolling, that person is worse than the guy who developed the bomb, Oppenheimer. That person is worse than the guy who developed the bomb. The guy who developed the atomic bomb, probably, yes, one time, he wants to blow up, you're gone. The guy who designed that update where you can be scrolling every time, just be scrolling endless, that guy he has helped more people waste their life, probably than than Oppenheimer ever did in one lifetime. The amount of hours that is spent doom scrolling, what's it called? It's called doom scrolling or something like that. Just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling endlessly. That is a real not urgent, not important activity, but it's so addictive. It's fact. Those are the activities that our body in the natural state, our mind in natural state enjoy the most. In its natural state, our minds and our body enjoy activities that are not important and are not urgent because it requires no effort. Quadrant two activities that are not urgent and very important and very and not urgent and not important and very important requires maximum effort and maximum concentration. Quadrant four activities that are not urgent and not important requires no effort, requires no concentration, requires no energy, requires nothing. You are just wallowing away and wasting time and wasting life. So to me is one of the most important activity management framework and tool where you're asking yourself, um, do I know what are things that are important to me? And have I blocked that out? Is my day, what is the flow of my day? Is it a result of my quadrant two thinking based on the things that are important, or am I just going about it anyhow? Now, people can argue for all kinds of things like, writing a to-do list. You have to write a to-do list of what is important. And without life management, without discipline, your to-do list doesn't do it. Your to-do list does not do. You are the one that will to do it. You are the one that is to do it. And that's why life management is critical. Life management is important. All right. So these are very, very important things. So after I focus on living my life in quadrant two. That's what I focus on. Like having a plan. Planning is the backbone of quadrant two. Planning, right? So I begin every activity with a plan. I begin every activity with the right knowledge. I was yet a couple of days ago. I was trying to understand a project I was want to work on. I scheduled a call with somebody who's an expert in it, and we had a great conversation about it. That's how I begin everything in preparation. Planning and preparation is the most important activity in quadrant two. When you are in planning and preparation, you're able to identify all of the steps it takes to achieve the result. You're able to understand all of the activities that you need to do. You're able to do all that. It is in planning and preparation that you make to-do list and you write checklist. All right, and then you use tools to help your day make to help you when you are trying to manage when you are managing meetings. Then you begin to use tools to manage those meetings, where you Google Calendar can help you schedule meetings, where you can block out certain times. You can tell it, I don't want to take meetings in the morning, just afternoons. So that if somebody says, can we have a meeting tomorrow, you send him a calendar link and the person is able to book. These are just tools that help you. And if you are trying to develop a habit, like if you want to develop a quadrant two habit, you can then use reminders on your phone to help you become conscious of something over a period of time. So you set reminders. Don't be your brain is not ChatGPT. You will remember a lot of things. So always take notes. Write down what is important. Right, in preparation and planning. Always take notes. Always take notes of the things that are important. So you can use your phone as a tool to then make a critical list. All right, make a critical list. Okay, set reminders on your phone. Okay, I want to be reminded of this activity 15 minutes before it happens. So you set that reminder so that you get a reminder to prepare yourself for something. Because you can get carried away on this and carried away on that, and you can a very important activity that might not be urgent can take more time than you are allotted to it. So you need reminders to keep everything within timing. So you see, scheduling and things like that are all at the tail end of time management. It's not the beginning of it. All right. Do you understand the principle of do you understand the idea of the quadrant two idea of the things that are urgent but are not important? Do you understand that premise? First, so that you begin everything with plan. You begin your day with plan and preparation. You begin every activity with plan and preparation. That's that quadrant two thinking. You begin everything with plan and preparation. And once you're able to do that, you're able to navigate correctly. All right. So then, managing activity is you can then begin to optimize it for the quality of your life or the quality of the results you're trying to achieve. You optimize it for the quality of your life or the quality of your results you're trying to achieve. All right. I know people whose phone is on silent 247. But again, you have to be able to understand what is important to you. You cannot be keeping your phone on silent if you are a salesperson and people call you, you are the customer rep, like people call to close deals. You cannot keep your phone on silent. So that is not a distraction avoidance tool. Right? You have to understand where you are and what you are optimizing for. All right. If you are optimizing to reduce the amount of endless meetings you do, then you start scheduling and blocking out times. You can say, okay, this is the time that I have available for this meeting. Please refer to it, and then you can begin to check that. All right. Or you begin to so reminders, schedulers, they are all on our phones. You can just use that to lock in certain time and certain dates. I have I have had a recurring reminder for more than I think 2 months now or a month thereabout now for a particular project, a particular consciousness I'm trying to develop.